Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today I want to briefly talk about farming powder snow, so the powder snow block. It's a new type of snow that got added in this week's snapshot. It has some unique attributes, like for example that entities slowly sink through it, or entities also would take damage when standing too long in it, they would freeze. The way you place it down is using a bucket, and also you can pick it up with a bucket again. Yeah, more about the powder snow in my snapshot video, discussed in more detail. So today we want to take a look at what's the best strategy to actually farm powder snow. So in order to obtain powder snow, you need cauldrons. So similar to water accumulating in a cauldron when it rains, the same also happens with snow. So there's a certain chance that a cauldron would be filled up one level when it's snowing, for up to 3 levels in total. Once it's completely filled, you can use a bucket on it and empty the cauldron. Then you get a powder snow bucket, which you can place down in the world, bucket again, put in a cauldron, etc. But you can't really do anything with the lower levels of snow in there. So only if it's completely filled up with 3 levels of snow. So first we need to measure or understand how slow the process of snow gathering in a cauldron actually is. Here we got a test setup using 10,000 cauldrons, and after 2 minutes, only a couple of the cauldrons have been filled with 1 snow layer so far. Getting a fully filled cauldron will definitely take several hours. Also, there's only a limited area where the snow layer generation or the snow accumulation in the cauldron actually works. So it's a certain chunk-based area around a player. So we're standing in the middle of this setup most of the time. As you can see here, the outside there was also some snow falling, or snow layers generating, but it's only happened in a circular chunk-based shape around the player. On the outside, which is still in the loaded area, there are no snow layers. So you kind of are limited in the amount of space you can build a snow powder farm with this random tick range. It's actually not directly the random tick range, so it's kind of similar to the mechanic that you can adjust with the game rule random tick speed. This basically sets an amount of blocks that are selected each tick in a subchunk, so a 16 by 16 by 16 area. The random ticks, it's usually 3 by default, but you can set this number higher. The snow layer generation basically also has a random tick speed, which is 1. That's a value you can't change. And then additionally, there's only a 5% chance that in case one of those snow random ticks actually selects a cauldron, that a snow level would be added. So on average, it takes more than 1 hour to get 1 layer of snow in a cauldron. So let's also do a test. So in theory, using 10,000 cauldrons, we should expect to get 8,788 layers of snow in 1 hour. So here we got a setup that replaces cauldron with an empty cauldron and adds 1 to the scoreboard every time we do that. So we're just gonna tick warp this real quick for 1 hour, and then we can see how many layers of snow we actually got in 1 hour. So after 1 hour, we got 8,860 levels of snow, which definitely confirms the theory. But I was testing it while it was snowing all the time, which obviously doesn't happen in normal Minecraft world. They always have a change between normal weather and rain or snow. I did another test, so this time the weather was changing. We also had a normal day-night cycle, and I was testing this for 50 hours. So we got 59,561 levels of snow in total with 10,000 cauldrons in 50 hours. So that means, on average, you get 0.04 powder snow per hour per cauldron. It takes about 20 hours on average until 1 cauldron is completely filled up with snow. It's actually quite similar to the mechanic of the cauldron that gets filled by rain. I remember we were playing Skyblock once, and the only way we could obtain our first water source was crafting a cauldron out of iron ingots the zombies dropped, and then wait until the cauldron was filled by the rain. And that took over 24 hours back then. So it's very similar to the snow mechanic. Gathering powder snow will definitely be a very slow process. Takes an average 20 hours to fill a cauldron, but the bright side is, at the moment, powder snow doesn't seem to be very useful as a building block, so I probably don't need much of that anyway. So in case you just need a couple buckets of snow powder because you need it for a contraption or building a little trap, then it's probably the best if you just place down as many cauldrons as you can and harvest them manually. don't really see a huge point of making an AFK farm. But if you want to make an AFK farm, let's also check out a concept for that. So here we have what I would call a medium-sized AFK powder snow farm. It produces around 45 powder snow per hour, which is definitely not an insane amount, but you already have to put in quite some effort to set this up. So we have 1152 cauldrons, so getting filled by the snow. And then we got mine tracks below that are waterlogged in order to slow down, play a little bit, and hoppers below to collect the powder snow. So the way this farm works is you want to fill your inventory, one stack of buckets, and then a lot of other items. Then you get into a minecart. And let's actually go in survival mode real quick. All the player has to do is basically just start the minecart and hold down right click. If one of those cauldrons is filled up with powder snow, you would right click it. Since the inventory is filled, the powder snow bucket falls here on the ground and is picked up by the hopper. It's then collected. Okay. So in order to not run out of cauldrons, there is a little setup here. So we can quickly activate it, I guess. So the player, when going over this detector rail here, would activate that. And then exactly 15 buckets are dispensed onto a hopper here. So the player going by would be able to collect those buckets. So let's do that really quick. So basically just detect here the signal strength, which decreases from 15 to 0 to exactly dispense 15 water bucket. Player going by this would then pick up the buckets, going over another detector rail, which then unpowers the hopper, and any remaining buckets are collected and basically will be sent back to the dropper. And this completes one loop. Then I got a little extra system in case you actually end up with a powder snow bucket in your inventory. Then you would place it down here, and it's collected by another dispenser directly. So let's actually do that real quick to show it. There we go. And this way you have an empty bucket, which would stack with the other 15 buckets to the full stack size of 16 again. Alright, so that's how a medium-sized AFK powder snow farm could look like. If you want to go a lot larger, obviously, then there's a couple of different issues you would run into, like the limited range in which the powder snow would generate. Then here I'm using hoppers below because it's just easy for item collection, but in very large scale it would get laggy and want to use hopper minecarts instead. But then you have an issue because the waterlogged rail causes the items to swim up, and another hopper minecart below would be able to pick that up. So there's a couple of issues that need to be figured out, and also a couple of ideas I would have how to do that, but yeah, it's really not topic of the video. Just wanted to see how feasible it is to farm powder snow in this video. In case you just need a couple powder snow blocks for some kind of contraption, as I said, it's probably enough to place down a couple hundred cauldrons and then wait it out and harvest it manually. I don't think you really need an AFK farm for this. There's a world download that you can find in the video description in case you want to check out this farm here. But that's all for today. Thanks guys for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.